All right, coin collectors out there, we're going to take a look through this roll of pennies right here and look for some wheat pennies or some Canadian pennies, and that will kind of dictate where we go in this video. So let's open it up and see what we get out of this roll right here. Oh, I actually think I see one down here at the bottom. This looks like a 1981 right here. Canadian penny. Let me look to see if there's any wheats in this. Oh, this is a very nice looking, well struck Lincoln Memorial cent right there. All right, let's focus in on this one right here. Here we have a 1981 Canadian penny. So in this video, if I found a Canadian coin, what I was going to do is take you to this top 10 list from myroadtowealthandfreedom.com. They have a list on there of the top 10 most valuable Canadian cents, and most of them are actually from this book right here, Canadian Small Cent Collection. So when you open this up, I've got my coins over here. I'm still missing quite a bunch, but most of them are going to be in this format right here. I'll take out one of these 1920s for you. As you can see, there's quite some design change from the 1981 until the 1920, back to the 1920, and there's some different metal contents. And you might have already known this already, but what makes one of the things about the Canadian penny interesting is that it has died. They no longer make it. It was made from 1958 to 2013. So if you want to read obituaries on the Canadian penny online, you certainly can. But the main reason they killed the Canadian penny was because it was so expensive to produce. So from 2000 to 2012, they were made of 94% steel. From 97 to 99, they were made out of 98% zinc. But from 1996 all the way back till 1858, they were made out of mostly copper, around the 98 to 95% range. So the coins got a little bit cheaper when they switched in 97 to zinc, and then in 2000 to steel, but ultimately they decided to get rid of them in 2013. All right, so let's get into this top 10 list of most valuable Lincoln cents. So let's focus in on this one right here. We're going to finish with the number 1 is going to be the most valuable. So this is the 10th most valuable Lincoln cent. And again, this list is from the website roadtowealthandfreedom.com. The link is roadtowealthandfreedom.com/top 10 rare Canadian pennies. All right, so number 10 on the list is the 1921 1 cent. Now, it's not uncommon to find low-end examples of this coin. I've got one that's in my coin binder, as you saw, and we've got a 1920 right here. You can generally buy these at coin shops for a few bucks. You can find them like I do through coin roll hunting. But higher-end mint state examples can sell for thousands at auction. If you're a penny collector and you're interested in these coins, that can be a very nice one to start out with. The 1921 small cent, there were only 7.6 million of those made. All right, moving on to number 9 is the 1926 1 cent. Let's see if I have one of those. I unfortunately don't. 1926 1 cent, the mintages really drop off. As I said, for that 1921, there were 7 million made. The 1926, only 2 million made. The official mintage for the 1926 cent is 2,143,372. Low-grade examples can sell for a few bucks. High-end coins can sell for thousands of dollars at an auction. All right, so the 1926 is valuable as well. That's because the mintages for that are relatively low. So look for the high-end coins on that. Number 8 on the list of 10 most valuable Canadian pennies is the 1924 1 cent. Now, the mintage for the 1924 is even lower than the 1926. The official mintage is 1,593,195. Now, while mintage certainly exceeds that of much rarer 1923 and 1925s, it is still a low mintage coin. And when one considers the price trends for this date, the person on this website believes that low-end coins of the 1924 1 cent can sell for $10, while higher ends can sell for thousands of dollars as well at auction. So, so far, 8 to 10 can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. Moving on to 1922, even lower mintage. This one can sell for $20 at relatively low-grade examples, and get up to several $1,000s at auction. Now, the 1922 1 cent has a mintage of $1.243 million. So you might want to be wondering what the obverse of this coin looks like. So here it is. Flip it over for you. We've got George V on it. Now, George V, he was later replaced by Queen Elizabeth, which what you might see on some of your more recent coins. This design right here was used from 1920 to 1936. So George V captures most of these rare coins that we're going to be talking about. This coin itself from 1920 to 1936 is 95.5% copper. So it's one of those copper coins that we talked about earlier. Let me see if I can just get this centered in the shot for you. All right, so keeping on, moving along that top 10 list, we're moving on to number 7, the 1922 cent. That one I said sells for $20, with higher end coins selling for several thousands. Mintage on that was 1.2 million. All right, 1925 cent. At just over 1 million of these strikes were made. This penny is in fact very rare. Low-grade coins sell for $30, while high-end grade mint sets sell for $2,000 to $5,000. Again, that's the 1925. So these are some key dates that you need to be looking out for. Number 5, so halfway through the list, is the 1923 1 cent. This one as well, just over 1 million. And when I mean just over, very close to 1 million. So it was official mintage, 1,019,022. So the lower end versions of these coins sell for $30 to $50, while high end sell for $3,000 to $10,000. All right, now number 4 gets a little more interesting because we switch out of these 1920s coins that we've been looking at, and we go into kind of a new interesting design that was made by the mint. So the majority of these pennies on the list are quite old and are prior to the 1955 cent. So the 1955 cent, they switched over to Queen Elizabeth. But in 2006, the Royal Canadian Mint was experimenting with different designs. Here's a coin that wheat penny slipped into the shot there. So in 2006, the Royal Canadian Mint was experimenting with many different designs and metals for their penny. 6 types of the 2006 pennies were produced. There was a 2006 non-magnetic, 2006 magnetic, 2006 P non-magnetic, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of different 2006 coins that are out there. So those come in at number 4, tied with pennies from the early 20s. Those pennies are kind of valuable because of their low mintage. These ones are valuable because they kind of just switched it up a little in 2006. All right, so moving on to number 3. Now, number 3 gets a little interesting as well because there's some design changes. So 1953 is the number 3 list. The 1953 shoulder fold SF penny. Well, most 1953 pennies were the NSF variety. By the late 1953, the lower relief shoulder fold or shoulder strap variety had become the standard obverse design for pennies of this series. A small number of 1953 pennies were struck with newly upgraded dies and are tough to find. They can sell for $25 to several thousands at auction. Now you guys will probably notice the common trend here that you'll see going forward and on the coins that we've talked about is it really matters the grade of these coins. Alright, so number 2 is a tie between the 1955 no shoulder NSF coin and the 1954 NSF 1 cent coin. So sorry if I've been kind of rushing through some of these acronyms that we're talking about for these Canadian pennies. If you're interested, you can look them up later. I'm going to do some research as well to figure out exactly what the NSF design looks like. All right, so let's get into this tie for number 2 on the top 10 Canadian pennies list. All right, so number 2 is tied between the 1955 no shoulder NSF and the 1954 NSF 1 cent. So let's start with the 1955 NSF 1 cent. The 1955 NSF penny is one of the rarest Canadian pennies ever struck. By mistake, a small number of 1955 pennies were struck with older design, no shoulder fold or strap dies. These examples typically sell anywhere from several hundreds to several thousands. So that kind of sounds a lot similar to the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny. So that's a transition error as well from the wheatback to the Lincoln Memorial. So there are some errors there known as the wrong planchet errors, where they might have been struck on the wrong planchet, the wrong metal content, or the wrong kind of design. So that sounds similar to what we're talking about here with this transition from the no strap shoulder fold to the, I guess, the NSF. So also tied for number 2 was the 1954 NSF 1 cent. A small number of 1954 pennies were struck with the NSF obverse dies. They can be found in proof-like sets and typically sell for a couple thousands of bucks at auction. All right, and the last one, the most valuable on this list. Again, this list is from My Road to Wealth and Freedom. The name of the article is Top 10 Rare Canadian Pennies. All right, number 1, which I've actually made a separate video about, is the 1936 dot penny. Now that's the real jackpot for Canadian pennies, and that's because the mintage is very, very, very low, with only 3 mint state examples known to exist. One example sold at 2010 coin auction for $400,000. So what the story there was that the when Edward the Eighth, finally died, and they replaced him with King George the Sixth, they didn't really have time to make a new die, so they just took out. They added a little dot to the bottom of the 1936 pennies to indicate that they were actually made in 1937. So if you've got a 1936 dot penny, that means it was actually made in 1937, but they wanted to put the little dot on there just to let everyone know that these were in fact made in 1937. They just didn't have time to switch the reverse die for those coins, the reverse or the obverse die, I guess, for that matter as well. All right, so I'll wrap it up here. If you're into coin collecting, please do check out some of the other videos on my channel. I realized I kind of rambled a lot today about these Canadian coins. If Canadian coins don't interest you, I've got plenty of other coin videos on my channel that you can check out. But if you're watching all the way so far in this video, you must have liked something about it. So please do like, comment, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos on my channel. Take care. Enjoy, everyone. Best of luck coin collecting.